And we are live.
All right. Hello, everyone. Today is the 30th day of September, 2021. I'm Mayor Densmore. This is the meeting of the Gulf Manor Village Council. We will stand as you are able to bring in pledge of allegiance to our republic.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's start with a roll call to establish for the record that we have a quorum.
Mr. Becker? Here. Ms. Cheney?
Here.
Mr. Knip's not present. Mr. Brignoff?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Here.
And Mr. Van Horn? Here.
I've been notified that Mr. Knipp is ill and expresses his apologies for not being able to be here. Do we have a motion to excuse Mr. Knipp?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Presuming council's had an opportunity to review tonight's agenda, do you have a motion to accept or amend and accept tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Mr. Lanzer, I'm presuming there's no registered speakers?
Correct.
Okay. I noticed that the minutes of our previous meeting did not reflect that Mr. Betcher presided over the meeting in my absence. Thank you, Mr. Betcher. At the very least, we need a motion to amend the minutes of the September 13th to reflect that Mr. Betcher presided. Are there any other amendments needed? All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a fire EMS report from Chief Timmers?
He usually does that monthly, so we covered that at the first meeting this month.
Okay, and I'm presuming he'll not be attending this evening. All right, I had just a brief statement I wanted to bring to people's attention that I noticed from the previous report that came in at the beginning of the month. So I've been asking for a list of where the calls are. We have been notified that, or there's been people spreading the message that Gulf Manor has a lot more calls than other parts of the district. And so I've been asking for a list of what those calls are and where they're located, and we got one at the beginning of the month. I've circled all the ones that are actually not in Gulf Manor, all right? And that's 36 runs that are not in Gulf Manor and 30 that were in Gulf Manor. So my concern is that the number that's being used by Mr. Lemon and others, talking about the number of runs that Gulf Manor has, may be this larger number that the runs that are coming out of our department that aren't actually in Gulf Manor. So want to bring that to folks' attention.
Those all the runs out of Station 47, or is that just EMS? Or
This is what I was told were all the runs out of our station 47. Yes. So for your consideration on that.
I'd like to see that.
I'll pass it around, actually.
Thank you.
Got other copies of it. So I will go into, with Chief Timmers not being here, proceed for the mayor's report. Concerning COVID-19, Greg Kesterman, our county health director, has advised that our residents who've had both of the Pfizer shots are now eligible for the booster shot if they're over the age of 65, as well as if they're under 65, but they are in a high-risk situation. So I drive for Uber, I'm in a high-risk situation, I can get a booster. I work at the checkout counter at Kroger, that's a high-risk situation, I'm eligible for the booster. So please help me spread the word to our adults in Gulf Manor that are over 65, as well as those that are in high-risk positions. What Mr. Kesterman told me was, you don't have to say what it is that you do. All you have to say is that I'm in a high-risk situation and you're eligible for the shot. So that's coming from our county commissioner for what that is worth.
Mr. Mayor, is
yes.
that, are those people eligible, or is he recommending they get it regardless of whether it's been 8 months or not? I know initially there had been a discussion on
Right,
8 months after your second dose.
Right. What I heard from our own EMS folks is they were saying that they were seeing between 6 and 8 months was the recommendation from your last shot.
Okay.
Someone else on that call might recall that better than I do. What he said on the call, I was kind of looking at Ron because he was on the same call
Yeah,
that I was.
The average is between 6 and 8. I did it at 6,
Okay,
Yeah,
I think,
I've been boosted.
yeah.
And I believe it's the CDC who said that they've only made recommendations for people that are over 65. Basically,
Okay.
they're saying that that's the group that should be getting the booster.
And it's only Pfizer too.
Only Pfizer. I've heard that Moderna's coming soon. Federal rental and mortgage and utility assistance. There's a flyer going around from Duke Energy. I'm going to read a couple of pieces on it. This is, we've been announcing this, I think, at every council meeting about assistance programs that are available to renters, as well as homeowners to help with mortgage payments for rent payments and also for utility ones. I'm going to speak to the homeowner part. I know that we've talked about the other ones. So they'll provide funds, that these are federal programs that will provide funds to prevent homeowner mortgage delinquencies, defaults and foreclosures, and loss of utility service. Homeowners with an income equal to or less than 150% of the area average income may be eligible. And the website that you're going to want to go to pre-qualify is called savethedream.ohiohome.org. And this, I can put this in my mayor's report, a link to it. It's a PDF that you can disperse to folks in the village. The latest edition of our newsletter was sent out earlier this month. And a couple of items on there. In addition to the financial help, you may have known that we had the 513 relief bus that was here. They had a steady flow of, went down there and was asking them. They had a steady flow of individuals that were coming in to find out different assistance things available to them. We also put in that newsletter about the free N95 and 3-ply masks that are available to our residents. Those are still available to our residents, and the protocol for that is just to come in and talk to the clerk. And they can get, so if you know anyone that's in need of more masks, more of that PPE stuff.
And the demand has dropped in the last week or so, so.
would you say we have a decent amount left?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Boxes.
Made sure we got our share. We also had in there that, we were asking for volunteers for our village park committee and for our village human rights commission. Since that letter has gone out, I know Ron and I have both been receiving calls from people who are interested in being on that committee. Continue to spread the word to interested individuals, or folks to, the protocol for that is there's an application online.
Yeah, so what I have fielded, who's contacted both of us, and I have discussions scheduled. I talked to one person yesterday who I think is a good candidate. We're making sure that we get that application that's online. I think it would be helpful if we could try to have a group of people ready to talk to, but then the next step is how do we want council to vet these individuals? Does council want us just to make recommendations to you, or do you want to appoint a committee to talk to these people after we
I've
talk to
been
them? speaking
speaking to our legal counsel about a process on this, and I'll keep everybody up to date on how we do that. We'll make sure that we do it right. One of the things that I want to do for both groups of folks, for the park committee folks and for the human rights commission folks, there's been questions that have been coming to me, and I presume to Ron as well, about, well, what would I even do on that? What are my responsibilities? With one individual, I asked them just to call Terry because they had a question that I didn't know how to answer. So what I'm thinking would be a smart thing to do is at some point have these individuals sit down and have Terry at their disposal so they can ask their questions, and so that we can give them a very precise definition of what their job is and what that's going to look like.
Could we filter that through Ron?
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
just an additional
what
layer so we can save costs. No offense.
Because yesterday, I was able to answer all the
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
We, yes, absolutely. That's, did not go without saying, sorry.
Just want to make sure.
With the park committee, the same thing, not with the attorney, but just, get them all sitting together so it's very clear from council what it is that we're wanting them to do. Let's see. I was about to say there's an application online, so if you hear anybody that's a volunteer application online that's required for anyone that's interested in either of these positions, those go to Ron. So that's part of the process that we have. If you hear anyone that's interested, refer them to that application that's online and let them know to forward that to myself or to Ron. I will send the ones that I get to Ron. And, returning to the topic of volunteers, actually, I did not mention this, that so this newsletter costs, I've been printing them myself, and it costs $60 to do it for all the households in the village. And that's because we've had amazing assistance from volunteers in the community and council members that have been carrying these around door to door, all right? And I want to put out an ask to all the council members. One is to spread the word to other potential volunteers, all right? And to volunteers, thank you. And to spread the word about the need of volunteers. And I've not talked to Ashley about this. If you have an objection, let me know. Have the volunteers contact Ashley. She's been the spearheading this whole volunteer effort. She's the one that's been responsible for making sure that we got all the volunteers that we needed to make sure that these got sent out. So both appreciation and a request for you to continue that
Sure.
that point.
It certainly hasn't been a perfect process, but we're working on it, and the volunteers have been great. So.
Yeah. And I want to bring up to the council members too, this is the other piece of it. I've walked Weehee, I've walked Ridge Acres, I've walked all of Sandusville, I've walked St. Albans, and I've walked, do you remember the other one that I've walked?
Kellerman.
All right. So, and it's been a fantastic experience in terms of the opportunity to talk to people that happen to be there, and everything about what's going on. So I want to recommend to all the council members, this is, something to do. All right. It's a great opportunity. Get with Ashley as far as, if this is something that you're interested in doing, as far as taking on a street that you want to be responsible for. Yeah.
Toronto and I had a lot of fun doing it.
Did you?
Yeah, because usually we would just walk the dog.
Yeah.
And you don't, you just keep going. But like going up to people's door, they kind of like peek out and say hi.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of great
Yeah.
conversations with folks. We really had a good time. Looking
Right.
forward to doing it again.
Awesome.
And there's a lot of people that have the Ring doorbell as well, and that's recording. So you can just say, hi, I'm the mayor, I'm delivering this. If you have any questions, reach out to me. All right. And so it's a great opportunity to reach out and make contact with people in the village. Again, if you're interested in doing this, let Ashley know. We'll find a street for you, or you can recommend a street that you're interested in.
So just as a reminder, technology-wise, to contact Ashley, have them call the main number and her extension. Because you'll get email notifications in your village email that you have a message.
I would love to experience that. Never had a message.
So just, do you know your extension?
No.
Problem one.
Are there automatic notifications from that mailbox to your email
Yes.
that you have? Okay.
Yep.
Because that's a major corporate downfall sometimes, is that you're never being notified that you've got, notifications. So
By the way, you all have employee directories in your mailboxes with everybody's extension on them. So if you need this, we can get this for you this evening. And I think I've sent it to you by PDF too.
there's a Cincinnati Interfaith Vigil to End the Death Penalty, which is Tuesday, October 12th at Xavier University from 5:45 to 6:30. Some of you know that I've been active in the local efforts. There's a bipartisan bill that's in the House that's on the Republican side. It's being forwarded by Gene Schmidt. On the Democratic side, it's being forwarded by Cecil Thomas. I think I mentioned before that I had the honor of being asked to to be moderator for a discussion between those two about their interest in ending the death penalty. Something that I felt very proud of to be a part of that. Just wanted to bring that to your attention that there's this vigil, and if you're interested in the upcoming lobby week where they'll be giving you a training on how to talk to legislators at the State House, that I can get you that information, and you can get some FaceTime with legislators up in the State House if you're interested in I should say, either side of this issue. Homework assignment for next week. I think you're all aware that we're proceeding with the strategic planning process. There's an email that I'm going to ask. I'm presuming that it's that Ron can craft one that has just the instructions in it, so that so will you craft one of those for them
Sure.
later this week? All right, so we've got some homework for you. Basically, in advance of the meeting that we're having on the 6th, is that right?
Correct.
On the 6th. So we're having a council meeting, if you didn't know, on the 6th. That's going to be discussing the strategic plan process. In advance of that meeting, please think about the most important issues facing Gulf Manor over the next 10 years. Please come with a list of your top 5 planning issues. The issues may represent problems that you feel should be addressed, future threats facing the community, or opportunities that you think the village should pursue. Also, please come prepared to discuss how best to engage the community in this process, especially people and segments of the community that have not been well engaged in the past. All right, and I'm having Ron send you an email that has that statement in it so that you don't have to remember what I just said. I think that's all that I have.
So this was suggested by the consultant as a starting point for everybody. And when you get here that night, we're gonna have a surprise for you, so.
Better not be a surprise for me.
You have to. Say what?
Better not be a surprise for me. I've been meaning to.
Okay, it'll be a surprise.
Mr. Director, do you mind forwarding that email to also Steve and Rob? I invited them to join.
Sure.
Thank you.
It is done.
Right, with that, are there any questions? And as always, feel free to contact me with any questions or ideas. And I'll ask Mr. Hurt for his report. Mr. Administrator.
So I hear there's a Bengals game this evening. So
Yes.
So I'll make
You're on the
this-
clock, guys.
What time does
I
it
meant to
start?
lead with that, 8:30.
8:30.
And I've been advised that that's
You need to
as
be
late
there.
as council members will be here.
So most of my comments you can read in the minutes because this is just updates on stuff, and a lot of the other stuff is my report. Mr. Desai is going to cover this evening. But COVID protocols continue. Nothing has changed there. On the Vera Road update, one of the things that they're doing differently than what we were told is they are doing the individual home hookups to the water pipe as they go. So I think Sharon and her sister experienced a 2-day disruption last week. The reason they're doing that.
During the day.
So the reason they're doing that is they sanitized the pipe already when they put it in, which the other contractor did not do. So it had to be all done at once. They're doing it as they go. The good news is it's going to make the road project go faster.
Oh, good.
But my other piece of advice on this is that the road project is not going to end at the end of October.
Mhm.
They're about a week and a half behind because of the weather. So we're looking at mid-November right now. So bear with us. I understand they're going to start curbs in 2 weeks. I hear it's an awesome site because they have this big machine that digs out the curb and lays the new curb behind it. So get your kids together, take a video, it should be fun. So kids like trucks.
They're gonna be out.
This evening, we're going to have the waste collection contract for council to approve. 2 things that we'll be doing is repealing section 935 of our ordinances, which gets rid of the old contract. The new contract actually starts tomorrow. And one of the best benefits that we're going to have out of this, and let's hope this works, is starting October 5th, recycling will be collected weekly. So you put your green carts out every week now. We're hoping that's going to help reduce some of the overflowing garbage that we've had in the 4 families and some of the other areas. And then yard waste will be recycled starting on Mondays on October 18th. Now, when we say yard waste, I think we talked about this in committee and at full council last time. 8 weeks in the fall, 4 weeks in the spring. Rumpke is going to pick up yard waste. Monday is the day, figuring people will work in their yards and do their stuff and set their stuff out over the weekend. It has to be in the brown paper bags that you get from various retailers across the region. And that would include anything but rocks and dirt. So people can put their leaves in bags if they wish to. They can put dead flowers, trimmings, all that kind of stuff. The dead flowers and trimmings, those kinds of things, our guys do not pick up. Leaf collection will continue as usual during this period. However, we do have an opportunity here to start encouraging people to use the service, because these items collected will go to environmentally friendly recycling. So this is going to be a plus for us to do things for the environment, in addition to also hopefully being more efficient cleaning up the leaves. So that all starts on the 18th. Other thing that Mr. Desai has this evening is our agreement to move forward with the playground project. We had talked about several different ways that we were going to need to go through gyrations to get the COVID grant. COVID grant is settled. We've got it. We are actually ready to move forward once you guys do the legislation this evening. The mayor talked about the strategic plan. The other thing I want to mention to council is we will have due at the end of October a report to those people to whom we need to report about our potential use of the ARPA funding. So right now, the projects that we're looking at for the first half of the ARPA funding would be funding the other half of the playground project, the potential of doing employee stipends for the employees who work during the COVID crisis. We are looking at, we're getting costs right now and putting internet in both of the parks, so there would be free internet available. That would also include people who live close. And the 4th thing just went poof out of my head. Oh, lead pipes. Thank you. So those are things that we need within the next couple of weeks to get the funding costs together and then start to formulate that plan. I told finance tonight we will have something in front of them at the next finance meeting, I believe on October 25th.
To the point about the lead pipes, you had asked me to look for a previous report I'd written up on that a number of years ago when it was first presented as an idea. I did find that report. It's dated, of course, because it's from when we first proposed the project, but I can get that sent to you to take a look at. I'd like to look at it with you just to make sure I'm pointing out what's dated.
Perfect. And probably the prices will be different too, but we'll work through it. And just to make people, if anybody's watching, last day for voter registration in Ohio is for the November 2nd election is Monday, October 4th. So if you're not registered and you don't register by Monday, you're out of this election. Early voting actually starts at the Hamilton County Board of Elections on Tuesday, October 5th. And then absentee ballots are being mailed out on October 5th. Of course, we will host Gulf Manor precincts A and B here. If you go to the Board of Elections website now and put in your address, you can see your ballot. And you still have time to request an absentee ballot if you want to vote by mail. Any questions?
I have one about the Rumpke. Could you, I know that this is in the flyer that is being dispersed, but could you speak to the information about if you need a new container or how many containers you're allotted to have from them if you don't already have a container, and the process of getting new ones?
Sure. So the rules around that are the same, and we'll update the website to conform with the changes that we've made. But each resident, single family and 2 family, gets 2 brown carts, 1 green cart. We had talked about increasing the number of green carts, but we think the increase in recycling to weekly pickup will negate the need to do that, because we do have to pay for those carts when they come. If you want an additional one, it's an additional $3.95 per cart per month, and that's billed directly to the homeowner. The other thing that is available, if residents ask you about this, Rumpke will, for older folks, or maybe not so old folks, they will go take the garbage cans out to the curb and take the garbage cans back. That is an additional $40 a month to do that, and that also is billed to the homeowner. That's labor intensive. You have to pay a person to walk around the village of Gulf Manor to do that. And honestly, there are a handful of people who do that now. That's not something that we're going to advertise, but if you get questions about that, just let us know and we can point them to the right direction. We talked to Rumpke about, can we do the mix and match? If a house recycles more and has less solid waste, can they have 2 green cans and 1 brown can? They don't want to do that. They have not set that up. They actually record the number that's on your can at your property. So if something happens to your can and you need to replace it, they're going to ask you for your number. And if it's not your number, you're going to have to go through a process to get your can replaced.
Are they gonna
So-
pick up the extra green cans?
So what now?
Are they gonna pick up the extra green cans that are in homes? Some
So-
homes have 2. I
Yeah,
have
so
2.
for instance, if I wheel 2 out, they'll still collect the 2.
Oh, yeah,
Right, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because you said
It's
you
just-
pay extra for it.
No, if you only have 1,
I have 2.
but if you only have 1 and you, or say you want a 3rd one, you have to pay for it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
That's my.
Now, what
understanding
you've
of
got
it.
now
Is okay.
is fine. This is just going forward.
Just so people understand.
So, and if you remember, we had expected about a 20% increase. We kept it to, I believe it's under 9%, and we were able to add additional services in doing this. So hopefully we've taken care of some of the issues that we've had. Mr. Van Harn had mentioned, and I had received a couple of calls from residents where the garbage folks are leaving the bins in the street, in the curb. That's not correct. The best way to take care of that is the individual homeowner needs to call Rumpke because the relationship is between Rumpke and the homeowner. We simply are a method of payment. But if it becomes a major problem, I can also contact the rep at Rumpke and let them know, which I've done, because that's happening on our street too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's interesting, because I'm presuming that it's just a change in staff or something, because it hasn't
Yeah.
always been like that, but recently here, ours have been out in the street as well.
Yeah,
This week, they actually put it up on the curbs on our street.
Oh,
so they got the word.
I actually tried to call you, Ron, to tell you, this week they were.
Guess what?
Small victories. All right,
Anything else?
thank you, Mr. Hirth.
Thank you.
Mr. Lancer,
Yeah.
fiscal report?
Yeah, so 2 things. One, I have an abbreviated financial packet discussion, given the time constraints in the finance committee meeting and this council meeting. For the month of August, fiscal year 21, the village had an adjusted bank balance of just north of $4 million. Of this amount, $3.5 million can be found in the village's primary checking account, and the remaining balances in the several other accounts, including the several police law enforcement funds. For the month, the village spent $332,000 and received $760,000. Large deposit of receipts is due to the village receiving the second half property taxes. The village received $73,000 in general fund income taxes and approximately $300,000 in general fund real estate taxes, those are your property taxes. For the month, total general fund revenues were $470,000. That's the end of my monthly financial report. If anyone has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Lancer.
We need a motion.
Oh,
Motion to accept that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
My other item relates to the audit. Our draft audit has been submitted to me, completed, ready to go. I'm happy to report that there were only 2 findings in the audit listed for comparison, there were over 14 in the last audit cycle. So we're moving in the right direction. 14, 2 is way better than 14. The 2 findings were in financial reporting and compliance. So I'll start with the second one first, compliance, because it's easiest to explain. We didn't classify the Hamilton County COVID reimbursables in the correct line item. So that was a finding, very minor. And there were 5 items reported under financial reporting. All of them also minor. It relates to vehicle lease payments and OBWC loans on the annual financial statements. Not classifying revenues in the correct fund for the recycling and mayor's court activities. That was actually cited in the previous audit. It appears again because the 14 finding audit didn't get back to us until year 2020. So by the time we implemented the recommendations from that audit, we were already in this audit cycle. Those have been addressed. Let's see. And then certain common issues relating to vehicle payments, interest not matching, interest and principal payments from the village not directly matching the invoices, but they match the amortization schedules from the lenders. What the auditor said is it's common among every municipality that purchases vehicles. It's a common issue there. So both findings are considered extremely minor. Hopefully, I can get some approval tonight, and I can send signed copies to Perry and Associates to conclude this audit cycle, and then it's on to the next year's audit cycle, or the next 2-year audit cycle, hopefully in 2 years' time. So anyone has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lanzer. Did you need some kind of a motion with that?
I don't think so. We had a motion from the Finance Committee.
Right.
From them, and then I'm going to speak to you
Right.
for a couple minutes after council.
Very good. Chief Campbell.
Yeah, I'll try to be quicker. A few things. I have the activity report for the month of August. The PD responded to 402 calls for service. We only had 18 criminal reports, which is a good thing. As I've said in the past, the incident reports are the more serious incidents, and I like that number to be low, like how Andy likened it to a golf score. The calls for service, I want our people busy, I want that number high. I have another draft detail for you to look at. We're still tweaking it, some of the categories, to clean them up so they're not repetitive, or one type of incident can be filled into 3 different things. So we're still cleaning these up. And I think going forward, these will be distributed electronically to Ron to be in the packet, so you guys will all have a look at them. For right now, I'm just giving a draft to the mayor. The body camera, we've begun field testing the body cameras on the officers. We're still working on some minor technical issues, getting the camera that the officer's wearing to marry to the cruiser that they're in. So there's still some technical check boxes that need to be complete to make sure everything's working right. And we're still trending to having this be fully implemented by the end of the year. But we've had all our cameras on every officer testing them, trying to soft roll them out. And lastly, I want to thank Sergeant Reed and Mills Fence. When the barrier around the play structure was torn down by somebody, Sergeant Reed reached out to Mills Fence. They provided a more stable, permanent barrier to go around that. So they're good neighbors, and again, I thank Sergeant Reed for making that happen. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions?
I do have a thought correlated to the body camera stuff. We need to meet with Records Commission, I think, to implement.
Yeah, Mr. Don and I have spoken about that. He was on vacation this past week, so we're going to, we have some draft stuff that we can look at.
All right, just to make sure that's on the radar.
There are some appointments that need to be made to that commission too, so.
Thank you for your work on this.
I have a quick question, Chief Campbell. Does the Gulf Manor Police Department plan on participating in the National Night Out? I just got an email about it, and I didn't know if specifically our department was doing anything.
We're not going to host an event, but traditionally our officers will participate and support other established events.
Do you know which district location they're going to be at this year?
We, for the last 4 years, have had officers go to Norwood.
Okay,
I would expect one or more of our officers to help them with their event.
awesome, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? All right, Ms. Snyder, Executive Committee?
Executive did not meet tonight, but I would like to make a quick announcement from the We Thrive Committee. They are hosting free yoga in the park every Sunday of October at 2 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. The way I flipped, I went out of order for those wondering why I'm, yeah. So I just went to the next page instead of the back of the first page. I apologize for skipping over our solicitor here.
That's okay. It's quarter till.
No disrespect. No disrespect.
So I don't think
I thought that was on purpose.
So Mr. Desai and I have talked quite a bit for the last couple of years. We've never met in person, so it's good to see you.
Likewise.
And I guess we were never on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
But you're sitting in for Terry this evening. We appreciate that.
My pleasure. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I was telling Ms. Cheney that Terry and I often pinch hit for each other. Between the two of us, we are law directors, solicitors for 4 different jurisdictions. I represent Lincoln Heights. I represent Sycamore Township. Terry does Montgomery and he does Gulf Manor. So Terry mentored me when I started doing this about 15, 20 years ago. And in 2018, I was the only person doing local government work at my old firm. And it just made sense for Terry and I to join forces. So I wish I would have caught him a little bit earlier in his career, but it's been really good rowing the ship with him. So as Ron said, as Mr. Hurth said, he's on vacation this week, and he pinch hit for me back in August with Sycamore Township, and so I'm pinch hitting for him tonight with you folks. So
Mutual aid.
so every jurisdiction does things a little bit differently. Terry rolled me through how he handles legislation, so I'm going to do my best to emulate him, but I might fumble here a time or two, and if I do, certainly feel free to help me. You have in front of you the agenda on page 2 of 4. You'll see that there is an ordinance that has to do with combating discrimination. Now, that's only up for discussion tonight. So I wasn't really planning on talking about it specifically. Mr. Hurth, I didn't know if you wanted to make any comments.
No, I believe Mr. Donilon has sent out a document to everyone, and I think what we're hoping is that we will take that to a first reading on October 11th. So at that point, it would be the same process that we use: 3 readings, discussion, motion for, second discussion, and then any amendments to be made during that discussion. That's kind of where we are with that.
And I apologize, in my briefing with Mr. Donilon last week, I failed to mention that we should amend the agenda, that we were going to wait for him to be back in town to be able to help us with the discussion on this. So we'll wait until our next meeting.
Yeah, I think Terry has.
Table it then?
It's only on the agenda for discussion. It's not up for approval.
It's not up for discussion tonight. It's just there.
Let's have a placeholder.
Yeah. So I'm not concerned about it. And what the chair said is what I understand. Terry, I think, has a long history with that particular topic with the village. So we will allow him to continue his work with that. So the next thing that is on the agenda, excuse me, is ordinance 2021-13. We had some prior discussion about this. This is the ordinance that would be repealing Chapter 935 in the Village's Code of Ordinances, and has to do with the Rumpke renewal, if you will, for pickup of solid waste and recycling. If I could, I'd ask for a motion to read it by title only.
Motion to read by title only.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So this is a ordinance repealing Chapter 935 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Recycling and Solid Waste Pickup and Disposal and declaring an emergency. And since this is something that we are looking to approve on an emergency basis, I would ask for a motion to approve it as such.
Motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. I think Mr. Hirth has provided a fair amount of background to this thing, so I'm not going to belabor it too much. But as he mentioned, we had some, and I believe you all received a memo from Mr. Donovan as well, kind of briefing on it. But Chapter 935 was adopted at a time and kind of set this, the schedule out within itself. You had the overlayer with 52110, and over time it created some confusion and really became unnecessary. So it would be more efficient to repeal 935 and to pass this resolution, because it'll really allow the administration more flexibility as services evolve to deal with those things, such as the yard waste pickup that Mr. Hirth was talking about before. So that's the idea behind this piece. Anyone have any questions of me about it or Mr. Hirth?
Mr. Hirth, could you just reiterate that it's what you've told me, it makes the contracting process easier?
Yeah, when 935 was originally put in place the last time in 2013, the entire contract for Rumpke, including the fee schedule, was put in the ordinance, which normally is not the regular practice. But basically, we would have to come back to council if there would be provisions of that contractually could be easily fixed. So the new 935, or I guess the 521, I have too many numbers.
The ordinance.
Yeah.
Yes.
That one covers the procedures, which should be a part of the ordinance, but the contract will stand alone and will be a part of the other piece of legislation that shall pass this evening.
Any other questions concerning it? Concerns?
If there, I'm sorry, no other?
No, I'm just gonna motion to suspend the rules and pass as an emergency.
So I think we want to do first a motion to adopt and then the motion to suspend the rules for any further readings. So if we could have a motion to adopt it for passage.
That's for after the, yeah, sorry.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
And is this a roll?
Yes, a roll call, not a voice, yes.
Mr. Batcher?
Yes.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Mr. Knipp's not here. Mr. Pritnoff?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn?
Yes.
And then if we could have a motion for suspension of the rules on the second and third reading.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Batcher?
Yes.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Mr. Pritnoff?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn?
Yes.
All right, so the next item that we have up is Resolution 2021-32. My eyes are getting bad, so I need to magnify this a bit. So Resolution 2021-32. Is there a motion for title?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So this is Resolution 2021-32, a resolution designating Rumpke of Ohio Incorporated as the sole source provider for solid waste, recycling, and yard waste pickup within the village of Manor and declaring an emergency. So as this is a motion to approve, as this is a resolution we're going to approve on a emergency basis, if it pleases council, could we have a motion for the emergency?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So on this particular piece, again, we do have some prior discussion of it by Mr. Donlin. And that, is that basically what we're doing is renewing the Rumpke contract. The village has the right to contract with the sole source provider even though the costs are ultimately borne by the households themselves. I think as everyone knows, the village is going to be using the Greater Cincinnati Water Works as the billing mechanism. So the bill will appear on the water bill that households get. It applies to single family, 2-family, 3-family, 4-family. And there is a fee schedule that's my understanding council has previously seen. So everyone is aware that there was some concern about there being maybe upwards of a 20% increase. But the administration was able to negotiate that where it was substantially less. Any questions about that?
All right, what do we need? Roll.
All right, so if there are no questions, so we could have a motion for passage on it.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Mr. Lancer?
Mr. Retcher,
Yes.
Ms. Cheney,
Yes.
Mr. Pridnoff,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
yes.
Mr. Manor.
Yes.
And I do believe this goes into effect tomorrow, so we have an emergency. If we could have a motion to suspend the rules.
Second,
All those in favor? Or is this,
That's.
so roll as well? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mr. Retcher,
Yes.
Ms. Cheney,
Yes.
Mr. Pridnoff,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
yes.
Mr. Manor.
Yes.
All right, next on our legislative agenda, we have Resolution 2021-33. Have a motion by title.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2021-33, a resolution authorizing a contract with Game Time for the purchase and installation of playground/recreational equipment within Volunteer Park. This contract calls for putting in playground equipment in the amount of approximately $95,500. The important piece probably for council to be aware of and for the residents to know is that typically we do have a requirement under the revised code that when it's over 50,000, you have to spec it and bid it out. But this is part of what we call the cooperative purchasing program that revised code 9.43 and 9.43 allows municipalities to participate in. And the effect of it is by participating in the cooperative program, you don't have to bid it out. The group that's providing this equipment is Omnia Care, and so they are the cooperative vendor, if you will, the vendor for the cooperative program that we're purchasing it through. The resolution is actually for $100,000 as opposed to the $95,500. My understanding of the reason for that is to allow for some contingencies. We might prefer to have a deep brown bark as opposed to gravel bark, and that might be more expensive. So there's a little bit of a contingency factor in there. Any questions? Mr. Hurt, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think I had mentioned to the finance committee that we secured the $50,000 COVID grant to cover half of the project. The other half will come from ARPA funding. And the number may be less than 95 because there are still discounts and things being applied. What I will do tomorrow is authorize the payment of the down payment of $50,000 once we have a canceled check that we can submit to the county. They will reimburse us for the COVID funding. So we'll have kind of a zero wash there with that expense. This came together very nicely. So for the council members and everybody who worked on this and the mayor, thank you. This is going to be a game changer for us, I believe.
And for the, for folks, residents watching this who have any concern about the brevity of our conversation today about all this legislation, please go back and look at our previous council meeting and the council meeting before that, because we have discussed this fully, and it's all there for you to see.
All right, if there's no further discussion, motion to, I call it a motion to approve. I think you may call it a motion to adopt, but either
Motion
one.
to adopt. Is there a motion?
Second.
Mr. Lancer?
Mr. Retcher,
Yes.
Ms. Cheney,
Yes.
Mr. Brittenhoff,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
All right, and I think we are down to our last one. Yes, this is our last one. And like the previous one, R33, R34 is not being done on an emergency basis either. If we could have a motion to read by title.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This is a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Hampton County Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies. Yeah, okay, and certifying them to the county auditor. So everyone's probably, at least if you've been on council before, you know that there's a tax budget that the village manager provided to you earlier this year. That's basically estimating the revenues and expenditures. It gets sent down to the Budget Commission. The Budget Commission reviews it, certifies it back to the village and says, here's where you're going to be at based on what you sent to us. And they want you to adopt that formally. And so this is a process that we do every year. I believe this year the deadline is October 20th, 2021, something like that, to get it in. A very routine piece of resolution that every municipality does as part of its budgetary process. Mr. Hurd, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's pretty clear. Mr. Lanzer will send down this information once it's passed this evening to the auditor.
Any other discussion? Motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Mr. Lancer, roll call, please.
Mr. Bratcher,
Yes.
Ms. Chaney,
Yes.
Mr. Brittenhoff,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Very well done. And at our next meeting, I'll be discussing rearranging the Community Engagement Committee. There's a space here on our agenda for a report from education, from our education liaison, from our nonprofit liaison, and I'll be collapsing those all into the Engagement Committee report. But as we have not done that yet, I will ask Ms. Cheney if she has an education report.
I do, and it's very good news. A letter went out probably yesterday to all the PRM parents. And in that letter, it's talking about the expansion that's going to be happening. They're going to be adding classrooms, enlarging the cafeteria, addressing the traffic flow for cars and buses, and parking. The design phase will be completed by April 2022. There's a parent meeting, a PTO meeting, October 13th at 6:30. It's going to be on Google Meet. And they're hoping that all the parents will join. They're going to have the architects on there talking. They want all the parents to listen and give feedback as to what they think too. And then once the design is done, it'll, April 2022, they have to have the information by then, and that's when the design phase will be completed. Construction will begin June of 2022 and be completed by fall of 2024. So that's all good information, finally. After all these years, I can't remember how many years we've spent on this, trying to get this building expanded. So it's finally going to happen.
Ms. Cheney, did they give any hint? Are they just going up or are they?
It sounds to me like they're going up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't much.
But there's not much room.
I just wondered if
Right.
something magical.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they bought any land, but maybe they'll explain that in October 13th. I'm gonna try and join that meeting here.
That'll be an in-person meeting?
It's gonna be on Google Meet. I don't know if they're
Okay.
doing in person yet.
Okay. Can we get?
We're
actually,
not,
it's-
LSDMC's not, it's still Google Meet.
Right, okay. I'm thinking it's great for our residents because it opens up more flexibility in order for them to get that information. I'm wondering if it would be appropriate if you guys would agree to maybe having a slide with that information. Ms. Cheney, if you could work with Mr. Hurt, have a slide.
We can do a blog article.
Yeah, to make
That's
sure
easy
that
to
the
Okay.
residents, that goes out on
You want the
social
letter?
media and everything so that
You want me to email you the letter?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That works.
Thank you, Ms. Cheney.
If you have it
Excellent as usual.
electronically in a PDF,
Yes.
send it to me.
Yes. Okay.
Ms. Cheney, can I add something to the
Yeah.
education? I'm not sure how many people are aware of it, but the Archdiocese of Cincinnati is engaged in the Beacons of Light Strategic Planning Initiative. And what they are talking about, what the outcome is going to be the strategic organizing of parishes. And I know that a lot of residents in the village had children who go to parochial school. And that comes out tomorrow. And my understanding is it's going to impact schools. So residents of the village who send their kids to parochial schools might be interested in the outcome of that. It's going to be very dramatic.
Yeah.
Where's the, do you have information that perhaps we could include in our blog post as well
Yep.
about where people can track that information?
Yeah, the Archdiocese has a website. I believe it's beaconsoflight.com. I can add it to it though. And there's, the report's coming out tomorrow, the results of the strategic plan, and they're opening it up for, they want feedback, obviously, from the parishioners and the schools that will be affected.
And for clarity, our this education liaison, that's for, any information on schools in the area, whether they're public, private. We just want to make sure that we're helping get the information out to the community. So anytime you have that information, Ms. Cheney is your contact person. All right. Thank you, Ms. Cheney. Excellent as usual. Mr. Prednoff, do you have no report? Very good. Thank you, sir. And Fire District Board member report.
Yes, the next fire board meeting is Wednesday, October 10th at 6 p.m. It's here in Gulf Manor, so I invite the residents of Gulf Manor and our friends in the adjoining Ridgewood neighborhood to attend. A couple other things. There's a search and interview process right now for the new fire chief. It's my understanding that there were 10 applicants to become the new fire chief of Little Miami Joint Fire and Rescue District, and they hope to have someone selected and approved at our next board meeting. The other item is they have initiated a new staff process for full-time. They're looking to hire additional full-time staff. It's my understanding that there were 8 applicants. They've completed the written test, and now they're moving on to the physical agility. And then the last item, Eric Lett, the longtime employee of the Village of Gulf Manor's Fire Department and employee captain of the Little Miami Fire District here at Station 47, has left for other employment. And I just want to make sure that it's on the record how much we appreciate his service to Gulf Manor and to the Little Miami Joint Fire and Rescue District. In speaking to residents of the village, I know he's very highly thought of. And we're happy to see him land on his feet in a good place, but we're also sad to see him down.
We have a motion to affirm that statement on behalf of the service of Mr. Lett to our community.
Motion to affirm.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Lancer. Thank you, Mr. Lett.
And the fire board meeting, October 10th, that's a Sunday. It should be the 13th,
Oh, yeah,
right?
13th.
Okay.
Any other comments, Mr. Bernard?
Yeah, just to follow up, at the last meeting, there was a motion proposed by me about defibrillators. Basically, they have 2 that are very outdated, need to be replaced. We approved the motion to get a grant up to $50,000 to try to buy at least 2, or one, at least 1 and 2 if possible. Mr. Lanzer was able to help find the quotes on new ones, and I think it was about $38,000 for 2 of them. They're having a discount right now, so it's a great time to go. I just got today the official approval to sign off on getting that grant, or the $2,000 to pay to get that grant. We're going to go through, I believe, the Gary Sinise Foundation to try to win the grant for those defibrillators. And let's see, I attended the Columbia Township meeting a couple weeks ago because the fire district was on the agenda, fire services. It was very interesting. It was hard not to rain on the parade, I'll be honest. But there was a couple of things that were, there's still misinformation about how it's being presented. And I just want to make it clear that there are some things about that were positioned that I just want to make sure people know there's more to the story than was told. And lastly, Mayor Dinsmore, thank you for getting this list. I just got it tonight. This is part of the discussion that they've been making decisions based on some information that's not true about all the services actually to Gulf Manor. And I just want to bring it up. And I will bring this up with the, excuse me, lots of talking about that. Okay?
So, Mr. Van Harden, we have talked about trying to see if we can get grants to put defibrillators in our police cars. So that's something that we're taking a look at.
Oh, I did follow up with the grant company. You had asked me about that. They said there are some things available, and I'll just proceed to touch with them. Sorry about that. But I will.
So we can touch base offline.
Yeah, yes.
And then I am going to ask for an executive session briefly at the end of this meeting, just to talk about the next thing that's happening with the fire district. So just so you're aware.
In the bike department.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bernhardt, for your service on that and all. The defibrillator thing is huge. I was watching the meeting where there was some pushback on whether we should move forward with that or not, and I really appreciate your dedication to the people that are serving our village. Let's see, where are we? Planning Commission, Mr. Betcher.
There's no October Planning Commission meeting scheduled, so the next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for Monday, November 1st. Pending business. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Betcher. Mr. Knipp has community engagement, and we will defer that report until our next meeting. Mr. Betcher, Finance Committee.
Finance Committee met this evening. I think Mr. Lander did a really good job of recapping. The one thing that I will add that kind of falls under finance is the Financial Audit Committee met this evening. One thing that I wanted to point out was with the RFP for banking that we have renegotiated contract with Fifth Third is saving the village $200 a month in banking fees.
Good work.
End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Betcher. Mr. Hirth, in protocol-wise with executive session, should I go ahead and make the announcements now? And then, or will we need to, should we come back after executive session? And make those
We
announcements?
could just close the meeting after you do the announcements, and then we won't need to come back.
Very good. All right. So if there's any other announcements, let me know. What I have here is our next council meeting is as follows: on Monday, October 11th, executive committee at 6 p.m., council at 7 p.m., and Monday, October 25th, finance at 6 p.m., council at 7 p.m. Thank you for all you do for our village. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to move to executive session for matters of personnel and compensation of public officials or employees.
Is there a second? All right. Roll call, please.
Mr. Betcher?
Yes.
Ms. Channing?
Yes.
Mr. Pridnoff?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn?
Yes.
So for all those who are not aware of the process, we're going to go dark. This is a private session, and there's not going to be any other business. So you're just going to see a dark screen. And thank you for tuning in and keeping track of your elected officials. Good evening.